Good evening, everyone. My name is Tessa Reeves, and I'm a 25-year-old entrepreneur who adamantly wants to employ Ohio's refugees. Now, had you asked me a few years ago what it was that I wanted to do, my answer would have been completely different. I was a fashion student studying in New York City, and I had landed the most coveted internship in all of fashion, Vogue magazine. But when I got to Vogue, the most exciting thing that ever could have happened to me happened. I quit. I quit this one thing that I'd worked the past 6 years for and dreamt about since I was a teenager. Of course, there was a lot of thought that went into that, but to give you a glimpse, one Monday morning, just about 2 weeks in, I heard this arguing going on in the hallway, and I realized that it was over this missing $11,000 dress. And because this dress was missing, jobs and lives were being threatened. And in that moment, I realized that if I stayed where I was at in the industry, I would be serving that dress for the rest of my life. I had no idea what it was, but I was convicted that there was something better for me to do. So I quit Vogue, I quit New York City, and I headed back home to Akron. On a whim, I started volunteering with refugees, and it's here that I found what it is I want to do and find myself doing today. I had the opportunity to start a business called Neighbors Apparel, and we exist to create employment for refugee women who have been resettled to Ohio. We do that by utilizing creative talents refugees bring with them to produce bags, accessories, and apparel for the American fashion market. We have 16 million refugees worldwide today. Many of those refugees live in camps like what you see behind me, where they're housed in tents, have no electricity, and no running water. Now, some of these same refugees end up in our state of Ohio. That means we have people coming from Burma and living in cities like Akron and Cleveland. You can imagine simply by the nature of this resettlement how hard it is for a refugee once they get here. And of course, crucial to their well-being is whether or not they're able to obtain a job upon arrival. Unfortunately, the unemployment rate for refugees in their first year here to the United States is a whopping 35%. And that number increases to 41% when we specifically talk about female refugees here in the United States during their first year. Kaser is one of those refugee women who came from Burma and now lives in Akron. When I first met Kaser, she had been in the States for 5 years and still hadn't had a job. Her story is indicative of many refugee women that we have here in Northeast Ohio, where specific barriers to employment include a lack of education, a lack of childcare opportunities, and also limited knowledge of the English language. Refugee women have a desire to work and help support their families, but sometimes they just need an opportunity to come and meet them where they're at. And better yet, if they can find a job that uses a talent that's inherent to their culture and that they already have. This is exactly where Neighbors Apparel steps in to create a solution to refugee unemployment here in Ohio. Since we operate in the fashion for good space, we face competition from hundreds of competitors like your Tom Shoes, your Crochet Kids, and Good Humans. Much of what you see behind me is the kind of stuff we make, and we employ refugee women just like Kaser, who in fact is now on our team. The way we strive to make ourselves different from those other guys is by the fabrics that we use in our products. What I mean is that we use authentic fabrics that are hand woven in the same regions where our refugee employees are from. So by doing this, we're putting a real piece of culture into the hands of each customer, connecting them to that refugee story in a very unique way, and also giving them a pretty cool platform to show what their product is all about. This also puts a piece of home into our refugee employees' hands that they get to work with every day on the job in this new foreign country that they now find themselves. And the fact that the fabric supports a living wage that the weavers over in Southeast Asia make also gives our employees a peace of mind knowing that the business they work for also supports the very communities that they still call their home. We sold our first product in August of 2014, and both our product and mission was well received upon launch. We attended over 30 local pop-up markets, and our product has been found on the shelves of over 20 retailers within our state. This, of course, is the response that we'd hoped for and has really given us the confidence and resources to set our sights on some bigger and better things. We also know that apparel sales are growing much faster online than they are in store, so we need to be spending our energy tapping into this massive e-commerce market than knocking on the doors of some local mom and pop shops. Of course, then, our marketing strategy is rooted in social media. One key strategy of ours is the launch of a nationwide brand ambassador program. This will invite popular Instagrammers and bloggers to become outspoken brand advocates for us in exchange for free product. And this is our goal of this is to create brand awareness outside of Ohio and get people across the United States talking about what Neighbors Apparel is doing to not only welcome refugees, but create jobs for these refugee neighbors that we now have here in our homes. Another strategy is partnering with those who are bigger and better than us and utilizing the exposure that they can bring. One such partnership we're excited to announce is with Shopteeks.com. Shopteeks is an online retailer that curates products from all over the world. They experience 1 million users on a monthly basis, and they're set to do $20 million in revenue this year. They found us on Facebook and reached out and asked to have our product be sold on their website. And obviously, it's a great partnership for us this year as we look to expand our brand awareness across the states. Needless to say, we are far ahead of idea stage. Revenue today exceeds $70,000, and we've done all of that with an $18,000 seed investment. However, we are at a crucial turning point in the life of our business where we have some great opportunities coming our way, but due to a lack of resources, we're not able to really take full advantage of those things. So that's why tonight we are asking for a $60,000 investment from SeaChange. Behind me, you'll see the breakdown of how we plan to use these dollars. The majority will go towards business development, and that essentially manifests itself as hiring key staff to do the things that I've been talking about tonight to really generate those e-commerce sales, run the brand ambassador program, capitalize on the Shopteeks partnership, things like that. We are also in need of design expertise on our team. So our product is good, but we know it can be better, and we also want to be sure that we're creating products that last and that people want to buy more and more versions of. So bringing on this designer will help us turn shoppers into repeat customers and really allow our brand to have that staying power within the fashion industry. Marketing means investing in some tangible pieces to throw in that out-of-box experience and also some subscription fees so that we can stay in that constant contact with our customers on a daily basis. And inventory, of course, means buying fabric in bulk so that we can decrease our costs and increase the margins on our product. Funding would translate to a drastic increase in sales for us this year. You'll see that without funding, we project bringing in $57,000 in revenue, which is slightly above the $54,000 that we brought in last year. The reason behind this is because we know we can do that. It's exactly the kind of activities that we would be engaging in that we did last year. However, with funding, we'll be able to kind of push through that threshold and really take advantage of these new sales and marketing opportunities. So with funding, we would expect to bring in $80,000 of revenue. And you'll see that that translates to a 30% increase in the amount of hours worked by our refugee seamstresses, as opposed to the 4% increase you see from the lesser figure without funding. This now takes us back to Caser's story as we talk about what kind of impact these dollars would make. Currently, Caser works anywhere between 3 and 15 hours for us on a weekly basis, and that's due to two things: the fact that we're a startup and the fact that we operate in the retail industry, so we experience a lot of ebbs and flows. Given funding, we would expect to offer Caser a solid part-time 20-hour-a-week job by the end of 2016, and then have that job turn into a full-time seamstress position next year. We would expect the same to be true for all of our current as-needed seamstresses by the year 2018. Now, without funding, we do expect to still grow, but these numbers would essentially be cut in half, and we wouldn't really be able to grow at that rate that we know we can right now, just given the appropriate resources. The success that we have been met with so far is truly due to the women you see behind me, which is our team of refugee seamstresses. I have the privilege to manage these women on a daily basis as chief neighbor or co-founder and majority owner of Neighbors Apparel. As I mentioned, I come from the fashion industry, and I also studied at Kent State University's Fashion Merchandising School. So I've been subconsciously studying brands for the past 10 years of my life. I've watched others grow, and I see a very clear path how to get from here to here in the fashion industry, and I'm simply taking those steps forward to get there. I do have a business partner. His name is Rodney Matthews, and he's the executive director of the nonprofit that funded our seed money, and also currently serves as our incubation space until we grow too big and need our own spot out on Main Street. He was a former CFO, so he brings a financial strength to the business and handles our bookkeeping and accounting. At Neighbors Apparel, we truly do think we have an opportunity to become the largest small business employer of refugees in our state. And I hope you'll become a neighbor with us in some way, whether it's a like on Facebook, buying a t-shirt, or talking with me later tonight about what it really means to become a neighbor. Thanks.